Hey guys, good morning from steamy Texas, where I think even my camera is fogging up a little bit because it is so humid out here. So hopefully that's not too disruptive, along with the dog barking somewhere in our neighborhood. So I hope you guys are having a great morning so far. There is a lot happening around the world today, so I'm going to try to keep this quick and pack a lot in as usual. But I woke up this morning to news that Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is in Afghanistan talking more about negotiations with the Taliban. Remember, Secretary Pompeo is on this whirlwind trip, Middle East, Asia. He's talking about everything from Iran to nuclear North Korea. And of course, we have the G20 summit, that huge economic summit that I think technically begins tomorrow in Japan, where major world leaders like President Trump, Vladimir Putin of Russia, the Chinese president, Xi, are all going to be attending. So a lot of focus again out as we look back in about what's happening in America right now. Secretary Pompeo had some interesting things to say about negotiations with the Taliban. And just thinking about this, we have to remember the timeline here. The timeline being that we're in a political season and elections, and Secretary Pompeo and President Trump have no guarantee of having a job past 2020. So one of the things they've talked about is withdrawing American troops from Afghanistan, partly because of the cost. And that's one of the reasons we've engaged in talks with the Taliban. Secretary Pompeo was trying to frame these talks still in a positive way, even though the Taliban refused to talk to the current Afghanistan government. And so there's a lot of holdups before any sort of quote unquote peace deal could be made. But the United States is still on that focus. And I think it's important that you should know that, because it's America's longest war. And how we start wars and how we finish wars are really important, not only just to the immediate public, but also how we perceive America now in the future. So just something I want you to know that's happening. Also, this is just sort of like news you can use. I didn't know anything about this story. And I have to tell you, I went into Whole Foods the other day. I don't usually shop at Whole Foods, it's not in our area, but I bought some chicken and it was really expensive. I know, no shocker there. But I learned for the first time that there's been this ongoing case against chicken producers, poultry producers in America, from retailers and customers, including big customers like Walmart, saying that these major poultry producers, names like Tyson's Chicken, for example, have been colluding to set prices higher. And it's been ongoing. It's been an ongoing lawsuit for the last several years. The chicken producers say, no way, we're not doing that. These retailers and customers say, yes, you are. Well, the government basically tipped their hand, asking the judge to basically slow down this other case. And it looks like the Justice Department has a criminal investigation into poultry producers in America because of alleged price collusion. So sort of just an interesting thing to know of. Again, everyone's innocent until proven guilty, but kind of an interesting thing just to have in the back of your mind, because I didn't know it was a thing. One of the things we've talked about is African swine fever. That's affecting pork in China. Now, why am I talking about pork in China with chicken in the United States? Well, because of this fever that's affecting the pig population in China, and it's such a big producer for pork for the rest of the world. There's the thinking that because the pork population will be affected by it, that meat prices overall will go up for the rest of us because it makes other meat more valuable. So just like, it's kind of an interesting story to keep in mind as you're going into July 4th, the holiday, and we're all barbecuing. If you're vegetarian, clearly this doesn't affect you. But it's we consume a lot of meat in our household, and there's a lot of reasons to watch the pricing. And so I think that's also news you can use. Also yesterday, something happened unexpected. The acting head of Customs and Border Protection resigned and gave an interesting, note about it, not citing specific reasons, but because it's in the midst of this question about what's going on with illegal immigration at the southern border and the treatment of some children in custody. The timing is important. So that's happening. He's going to be resigning at the end of next week. Just a note on that, one of you asked, well, hey, why are people coming? And I think it's a great question. Why are a lot of people coming from Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador into America? Like, why are they making the attempt now? What's going on? And we've talked about these countries being failed states dealing with violence and drug cartels, poverty, which are all motivations to leave and seek a better life. But the other side of it is, and I think this is where the statistics are really helpful, is the repercussions. And we've talked about this a little bit before, but I just want to underscore it, especially as we're on the verge of this first Democrat presidential debate tonight. I'm sure immigration is going to be a big topic of conversation. It's going to continue to be a big topic for the foreseeable future. When you cross the U.S. southern border, you are arrested. You're charged with a misdemeanor felony. That misdemeanor felony is punishable by just a few weeks in prison if you're ever charged. With people are very, very rarely charged. We did some work. A colleague of mine, so smart, found different misdemeanor felonies. You can face more prison time for cutting down a tree on federal property than you can for illegally crossing the U.S. southern border. So there's not a lot of repercussions for crossing illegally. I mean, you're taking your life into your own hands. It's dangerous. So don't get me wrong on that. You're taking some major risks as an individual, but the likelihood that you will be able to stay in America is very high. And here's what I mean by that. Border Patrol said this week that about approximately 15,000 people are in custody who have illegally crossed the U.S. southern border. The rest have either been released into the general public or are unaccompanied minors and are looking for custody placement with a relative in the United States. So let's just round the number of those that have crossed the border illegally and been arrested at 500,000, okay? It's over 500,000, but just for an even number. So let's do some simple math. 15,000 divided by 500,000 to get a percentage means that only about 3% of the people that have crossed the U.S. southern border have actually been held. So the likelihood that you can cross, if you make it and you cross, you will be processed, you will be charged with a federal misdemeanor, but you will not be held and you can pursue the life that you'd like to live. That's one of the reasons why the Trump administration has tried many different things unilaterally to try to deter people from coming in, because once they are here, the reward of coming in is still very high, and so that's part of the reason why we're seeing this flow. The Trump administration clearly has tried several different things, and many of those things have been challenged in courts. But this is part of the reason why the federal government's trying to work unilaterally to try to figure out a way to deter people, not only for the benefit of the United States, but because of the danger. This corrupt business of human smuggling that's happening that, continues as long as there's a demand. So just want you to know about that as well. Final thing, as I mentioned, the first presidential debate is tonight in Florida. Check out our information on that on the website. I'm going to be posting in a little bit. I actually think, I'll be watching. Don't worry. I got you. I'll check it out. I think actually the location is most important. Just knowing that the Democrats have chosen Florida. They're going to choose Michigan next. These are states that many people say you cannot win the presidential election without winning. So the Democrats are zeroing in on these very important states. And we'll watch to see what are the headlines coming out of the debates. Does it change the conversation at all? I'm curious if you guys are going to be watching. Here we go, guys. Buckle up. All right. Have a great day. Here, a little bit of personal news before I go. I was on a rush yesterday. I had to do this really quick. I had to go to the doctors. I was going to a big appointment. I'm nearly 36 weeks pregnant. My personal news is that the baby is measuring 40 weeks. Yeah. So I'll be talking a little bit later about our maternity plan here at Smarter News. Keep your fingers crossed for me. The doctor's like, babe's not going anywhere. The baby's just big. I'm like, cool. I completely blame my husband for that. So that's what's going on. All right, guys. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.